Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Eight-Fingered Man, and I am here to start a series on basic economics. The reason for this is because a lot of people talk about it, and very few people know anything about it. But it's pretty much the basis for about 90% of all political discussions. So in the spirit of maintaining a free and educated populace, I want to discuss this topic. I definitely have very strong political leanings in one direction, and that will probably be made evident in the fact that I believe in a free economic system. But nonetheless, I'm going to make a very serious attempt to keep this non-biased and give you information as such, as opposed to reasons for desiring a specific set of information or a specific type of economic system. I'm going to keep these videos short, basic, in complete layman's terms. My goal is to keep each video under 5 minutes. It'll be difficult to do sometimes, but I think as long as I stick to small, very specific subjects, then it'll be a goal attainable. And since I'm already running out of time for the first video, instead of starting with a lesson, I want to start with some external sources, good sources you can read on your own time if you have the time or inclination. These books are pretty heavy, so if you don't have the time, then I don't feel like I can give the rundown in 5 minutes what most of these books say. But if you want evidence, if you want support for a lot of my reasoning, then it comes from these books. The first book is The Wealth of Nations. Actually, it's got a really long title, something like an inquiry into the cause and something or other of the Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. But if you Google The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, you'll see it. The Road to Serfdom by F.A. Hayek. It's also a pretty dry read. He doesn't generally cite examples, which makes understanding his points often difficult. But by doing so, he avoids the temptation to prove by analogy as opposed to prove by essence. So he gives a lot of very clear logical progression and talks about the reasons why these things work, as opposed to saying they work and then using a made-up example to prove that it works. But because of this lack of example, it's incredibly dry, and I've had to reread several pages of it over and over again. There's also Human Action, a treatise on economics by Ludwig von Mises. This book is economic at its core, but it spends a lot of time talking about what the author calls praxeology, which is the study of human behavior, which really is, at its heart, the very core of free market economics. It's the study of human behavior. It's why people buy what they buy, why people do what they do, why people want money, and why some people don't want money. And so it's more a long, very long study on human action, and human decisions, as opposed to the psychology. It doesn't discuss why mankind chooses to do certain things. It simply talks about the things mankind does. So it's studying human action in itself, not the reasons for human action. And the last book I'm going to mention in this video is Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. It's a very plain English book, but very long-winded, and he actually uses probably way too many examples. I think he generally writes about a page of description and arguments versus probably 3 to 4 pages of example. And his examples are always very detailed and very long-winded. I honestly don't recommend it. It is a very basic economics book, and he doesn't do a whole lot of proof, so it's not a very good source material book. But it it's got darn good examples, darn good analogy that helps you understand the thought process. But as I mentioned before, you can prove anything by analogy, and analogy is not a very good source material, and that's practically all basic economics is. But if you want a general idea, a general understanding of the idea of economic conservatism, then basic economics will give it to you. I wouldn't quote it as a source, though. Okay, now that that's done, I will prepare the next video. I'm going to start with the most basic, the very most basic building blocks of economics, which are, to me, I believe, are personal property and money. And I will get to those in the next video.